Epilogue. So, you see, kid, she didn't just kill a few kids, as you so kindly put it. She destroyed herself and her entire humanity to get the crucifix and the power it held. She was possessed. There's no other logical explanation for it. No woman of God would have done the things she did, committed such atrocities, if she wasn't under the control of a dark force. And that, everyone, is the reason why we are all here tonight, the tour guide said, clasping his hands together. To walk in the footsteps of evil and understand what life was like for those poor orphans, all those years ago, some of whom suffered a fate far worse than death. He glanced at his wristwatch. Have a look around, get a feel for the place, and we'll meet back at the end of the stairs in, let's say, 10 minutes. Some of the group flocked towards the end of the hallway, eager to see as much of the dormitory as possible, given their small window of time. Malcolm withdrew and hung back from the rest of the group. He didn't care to look deeper into the lives of some nuns who had lived and died long before his time. However, the story of Sister Katherine had intrigued him more than he was willing to admit, so he decided to take a quick walk about her room. He waited until the group had moved away so he could inspect the notorious nun's room on his own. He couldn't risk his mother seeing him. If she thought he was showing the slightest interest in the whole fiasco, he would be stuck listening to her ramble on forever. He scanned the bare room in front of him. It wasn't what he'd expected. He'd heard that if you stepped into a space where evil had resided, where brutal acts were carried out, you could feel an ominous sensation in the room, as if the perpetrator was still there, watching your every move. But this just felt like any other empty, dusty room. He was a little bit disappointed. He kicked his boot on one of the deep grooves embedded in the floorboards, stirring up some ancient smut in the process, and took a turn about the room. He was disillusioned when he didn't find any mysterious items. He looked out through the cracked window and saw the old graveyard outside. He shuddered, imagining how creepy it would have been to sleep so near to dead, rotting people. Malcolm sat down on the creaky little bed and cracked his knuckles while he thought about the tale he'd just heard. If the graveyard part had been true, then what else had the tour guide been truthful about? He stood up and, as quietly as he could, pushed aside the bed. To his surprise, there lay the carvings of the silver coins that had been given to Judas and that Sister Katherine had been marked with. Malcolm glanced at the door, wondering if his mother had noticed his absence. He tiptoed to the door and gently pushed it a little to conceal his snooping, then kneeled by the bed to get a closer look at the markings. They were quite faded, but there was no mistaking them. The markings were real. Curious, he ran his fingers over the circular symbols. As soon as his fingertips touched the etching, a shudder ran through his body, and he suddenly felt as if a large weight had settled itself on his back. A vicious gust of wind swirled through the cracked window, forcing the bedroom door to click shut. Malcolm jumped. With the door fully closed, the room was beginning to feel more sinister, and he took this as his cue to leave. He moved the bed back to its original place and hurried to the door, eager to get as far away from the place as possible. But when he tried to open it, the door wouldn't budge. He was about to call out for help when he stopped short. A dull, raspy voice was whispering his name. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up, and his eyes widened in fear. He turned around slowly, afraid of what he might see, and rested his back flush against the door. His eyes darted nervously around the room, trying to make sense of where the voice was coming from. Finding no obvious answer, he decided his mind had been playing tricks on him. But then the voice whispered his name again, so clearly this time there was no doubt. Something was speaking to him. "The sill," the eager voice whispered to him. He gulped and wondered if he was going crazy because he couldn't get the door open anyway. He shuffled over to the window sill to see if anything would happen. There was nothing out of the ordinary about the sill, but he knocked gently against the wood. The empty sound indicated the sill was hollow. He frowned, noticing a small gap in the architecture, inserted his fingers in it and pulled. The wood, caked in cobwebs, came away. He leaned it against the wall and peered inside the hole, which was serving as a small storage space. Much to his disappointment, he found nothing of significance hidden in the space, just some old faded prayer books and a string of rosary beads which had been wrapped up in a muslin bag decorated with a cross. He examined the space again, amazed at how deep it was, and came across a dirty piece of cloth, yellowed with age, that was securely tied with a piece of string. He pulled it out and felt a strange sensation, like a strong urge to pull the string open as if his life depended on it. He fumbled with the tight bow, opening the cloth and revealing the object that tumbled straight into his awaiting hand. He raised his eyebrows as he shook his head. Nestled in his hands was the notorious crucifix the guide had said was responsible for the reign of terror at the orphanage, the relic that both paranormal experts and the church had desperately sought for so long. And it had been found by him, a boy who hadn't even known about the orphanage's dark past until a few hours ago. He held the crucifix up by the gold chain, the ornate gold gleaming and glistening as if it were brand new. "Malcolm, where are you?" Malcolm jumped at the sound of his mother's shrill voice, and he quickly tossed a piece of string of the cloth back into the secret space. He placed the missing piece of timber back in its place, but kept a tight grip on the crucifix. No one would know what he had found. He intended to keep it for himself. Why would the voice reveal its hiding place if it wasn't meant to belong to him? He relished the idea of what he could do if he possessed the power of the crucifix. The bedroom door swung open just as he dropped the crucifix safely in his pocket. "What the hell are you doing? Come on, we're all headed back downstairs," his mother snapped at him. Malcolm rolled his eyes as he skulked out the door. If she only knew what he had found, she wouldn't dare to speak to him like that. He made his way downstairs to join the rest of the group, stopping on the last step to place the stolen crucifix around his neck. "Malcolm!" his mother shouted again from the entry hall ahead of him. His face darkened at her incessant nagging. He didn't need to listen to her giving out to him any more. He bypassed the rest of the group and strode out the main door of the orphanage, ignoring the rain that was pouring down. He leaned against the decaying statue in front of the building, stroking the crucifix in awe. Looking up, he marveled at a bright flash of lightning in the sky as he clutched the crucifix to his chest and smiled. Why wait, he thought. He had received enough scolding after his last suspension to last him a lifetime. Everyone treated him like an outcast, even his own mother. So why wait to make her feel sorry for her actions when he could just act right now? A shame for the rest of the group, maybe. They hadn't done anything to hurt him, but then again, they were all ridiculous fanatics, and one really shouldn't go looking for evil. They would all be sorry. He smiled broadly and strode back to the main building, slamming the door shut behind him. An eerie silence descended upon the grounds just before the screaming began from within.